Ireland is renowned worldwide for its music and dance. But it was in the 80s and 90s that a new sound landed on our shores. The sound of dance music. We live in a very different Ireland today, but the underground still beats to the rhythm of the club. Ireland's nightlife industry has experienced serious decline since the 2000s. One group that has consistently campaigned for the industry is Give Us the Night, which was founded in 2004 by the likes of DJ Sunil Sharp. In July of this year, they released a volunteer-led, unfunded report which clearly laid out the issues facing nightlife and 46 recommendations that would improve the industry.
Nightclubs use about 0.6% of the total liquor licences in Ireland at the time, and there had been an 84% decrease in the number of nightclubs that were in operation in January of 2025 in comparison to the 2000s. The sale of alcohol bill was brought in 2022, proposed to have a major reform on our operating hours, amongst other things, but that being the key one, that clubs would be able to operate until 6 a.m, with a bar being able to operate until 5 a.m. It was also proposed to bring in a variety of different licenses, a nightclub permit, a cultural venue license, I suppose more ways or opportunities for people to be able to engage in cultural spaces late at night, but also abolishing the SEO or special exemption order system, which basically means that if a venue wants to operate beyond public house times, they have to apply for every night that they wish to operate, which costs €410 per application plus legal fees. So it's a huge cost for venues, and I think that was really a big win, I suppose, and that was advocated for many years by Give Us the Night and Sunil Sharp and Robbie Kitt. So I suppose their efforts brought the general sale of alcohol bill to that point, but there's been no movement on it. You know, we're in December 2025 now, and there is still no sign of the government acting on this. It's been kicked down the line because other things are being prioritised.
The decline in the nightlife industry is happening against Ireland's larger economic and political landscape.
I think if you look at the last maybe 15 years since the global financial crisis, there's been a huge transfer of ownership of assets from many to the few. There's a period of very loose monetary policy, obviously, a lot of lending, a lot of cheap money. And I think when the government here was trying to reinflate the Irish economy, a choice is made. That choice was to kind of open the floodgates and the doors to international investors, what we now know as vulture funds and other groups of people, to come in and acquire property and drive development forward. So we moved from a state where we had quite a lot of state provided housing built 50 and more years ago to a system that really only works through private means. So private builders, private developers, private finance, and obviously massive public subsidy for that. So I think it's a problem with reliance on the market, really, and the market will only build what it can make money off, and that's where we now have kind of housing treated as a commodity, rents that no one can afford, house prices that very few people can afford, and this massive crisis that causes so much misery in everybody's lives.
The housing crisis affects young people in particular. We are the first generation to be financially worse off than our parents. From over half of young people still living in their parents' homes to skyrocketing rates of youth homelessness, living a good life in Ireland as a young person seems less and less possible.
I actually know when I first came to Ireland, it took about a good 3-4 months till I actually lived in Dublin, because I was just like floating around, living in Airbnb after Airbnb, then living out of the city for a few months, and then like just moving around couch to couch before I found a place to stay. So that was a bit of a rough time. But yeah, there has been like a lot of moments where like I lived in like a shitty shoebox for like close to like 1.8 per month, and I'm like, how the fuck am I living in some place like this?
I don't think I see myself living Dublin postgrad. I think it's just like, obviously there are other experiences outside of Dublin that I'm excited to see, and I'm excited to live in different countries, and then also that like financially it's just so challenging for students who have to go into careers at like low level wages and then build up. I think Dublin doesn't support that.
I would definitely like to live in Ireland and to come back to Ireland when I'm older, but I just don't think there's an avenue for one like postgrads to make enough money to support themselves. Yeah, it's quite difficult to anyway.
Oh, it's tough. Like I have to say I'm pretty more or less struggling to pay my rent all the time. I've been like funny enough, I quit drinking about 4.5 months ago, maybe 5 months ago, and that's made it a lot easier. But yeah, I mean, it was pretty scary just there. Like I was owed about €1,500 for some composing jobs and for some DJ gigs I did, and like, you know, I wasn't getting paid on time. I nearly missed my rent for the first time ever, and like that was real spooky.
Alongside the housing crisis, the cost of living crisis is also being acutely felt by the country's youth. Around half of young people are going out and socialising less, with cost being the main reason.
I spend way over €100 on food a week now. That's fucked up. I remember spending 15 when I was literally, I moved out when I was 17, so yeah, about 8 years ago. That's crazy in like 8 years.
It's crazy how much it's grown recently, like even since coming to college in first year in Dublin, like I can see a huge difference in the cost of like going out.
These economic crises are affecting young creatives in particular. Creative careers in Ireland are often not financially viable, forcing individuals to choose a different career path or consider emigration.
That's the dream, is to be able to do it full time, but realistically, like, I don't know how realistic that is for me. In the current climate in Dublin, like the cost of living, and like it's just unfortunately an unreliable job, and unless you've really made it, like it would be hard to live like really securely at the moment. I'm in it because I love the music and that's my passion, and making music, and I'm a youth worker too. I teach the young kids, and I think it's really like I don't know, like a path of like discovery for yourself and stuff, and I don't think it's supported by the government, and unfortunately it's not a realistic career, I suppose. It is for some people who are very lucky and very talented. And I suppose even in terms of like DJing, like I want to go do the big courses and learn more of music, and I want to learn violin, I want to do production work. I can't afford to, like, you need so much money to do all that, which is really unfortunate because it does push on the back foot. Like,
I think it's so hard for anyone to pursue DJing or music in general as a career. Like, there is so little money put into it, and there's so little support for artists who want to rely on it as their full-time career. I think in order to do so, you have to have this like amazing career trajectory that like just like starts out of nowhere, and that only happens to like very few people, because like there are so many incredibly talented DJs within the like Dublin music scene, but they have to have a full-time job on the side. Like, they would not be able to survive or like pay rent, especially in Dublin, if they were like surviving on intermittent gigs here and there that they have to be booked for. And like, you can't rely on bookings. They come when they come, and people have these like spouts of popularity.
A lot of my friends that I know that are really trying to push forward in their career have moved away, and that's because, you know, you hit a ceiling in Dublin and Ireland specifically. There's like, because of it, how small it is, and how you don't have enough infrastructure for, you know, taking the arts as a serious career choice. a lot of people that I know, especially young people, like my friends in the scene, they'll move away because there's better opportunity somewhere else, and they'll move away. And in the next like 5-6 months, they would have gone much further in their career than they would have at that stage here for a lot longer. And I know a lot of people that are sort of handicapping themselves by continuing to stay here, even though they should be way bigger than they are, but they haven't taken that jump to move away because they love Ireland, they love Dublin, and there's nothing much not to love. But if you really want to do this as a career, the most viable option for you is to kind of like move away, which is kind of sad, but that is the reality these days.
While the housing crisis affects the individual workers and attendees of the nightlife industry, it also impacts the availability of space for society as a whole. Places where individuals can come together. Ireland has been losing club spaces at an exponential rate since the turn of the millennium. We're losing places where we can gather together to create community and art and build towards a better future.
There's not enough places for people to socialise. There's not enough places for people to dance, to express themselves. It affects people's ability to, again, be able to meet people, to be able to express themselves, to be able to share communities. Everything that we as human beings are built for, are made for. It's without space to do that, you know, there is no culture.
Yeah, well, like we have a city, unfortunately, that's been taken over by commercial development of hotels and office blocks and great things that are shut after 5 p.m. on a Friday. If you're someone that's into music and nightlife, it's very hard when you have such a pressurized, commodified property system to create a space in a city. Like I remember Hangar would have been a really popular spot when I was in college, and you had another spot on Francis Street that I completely forget the name of, but like you're watching all of these venues disappear and what's cropping up in their place. Commercial student accommodations, hotel chains, again, things that aren't giving anything to the people that actually live in this city and call it home. So I think, yeah, there's been a squeeze on the industry on spaces, particularly like alternative spaces. So it's easy to keep Copperface Jacks going, but it's very hard to keep something that's maybe got a more niche interest commercially viable and able to pay the rent and able to keep up with everything else, you know?
Yeah, because, you know, I didn't know where I'm going with the space, and now I'm realizing when all the housing crisis is pushing into the city center, they're building apartments just behind the wall there, and it will be extremely difficult to find a place which is accessible and which is not far away from the city center or super not expensive, where we can actually have something like that. It's not many places exist in Dublin right now, and I think there will be less and less because this is the city and the government established only for profits, and the houses, and most likely for profits, they're selling these gaffs, you know, it's what I mean. It's not only about places where we're supposed to live.
At the end of the day, out of all the expenditure the government's spending this year and next year coming with the budget, why is there nothing allocated to a fucking rehearsal space anywhere in Ireland? Doesn't even have to be in Dublin. Put in fucking Monastradan or something, I don't know. But like, not even one rehearsal space in Ireland for music. That's 100% state owned or even semi-privatised.
However, while Ireland and its creatives are facing many challenges, we continue to create. Our creativity is fueled by our experiences under the current economic and political backdrop.
It's kind of mad to see Irish DJs being so big.
And they're on the same, so
internationally,
the same level as
like
huge
even
artists.
like Ketmar or someone who's from like West of Ireland as well,
Galway.
and like it seems not that. Like I remember when he was back in my day, Ketmar was coming from like the towns in the West of Ireland to being like one of the stars of dance music internationally. Is kind of really incredible to watch over the last few years.
I'm very lucky that I've met such an amazing community. I've made some of my best friends, and I run a radio show with one, and it's such a good community.
You know, the good place to be here as a young DJ is definitely this place behind the door. You know, when I was building this place, it was the intention to actually, in my imagination, was that I have people coming, discovering, but I didn't realize that, like, you know, how how many people actually need that kind of places. I have really big impact on the young people coming here, discovering the studio, talking about records and about the structure, how to make the records, producing music.
There's sort of revival of interest around the Irish language and around Irish traditional music and folk music and stuff like that. Like it's subversive as well. So I think like it's funny that we've reverted to these more traditional forms of art and made them our own in a way to express, I guess, the pain and frustration of living in the times that we're living in. Like you look at the music of the Mary Wallopers, like it reflects the experience of having a shit landlord, or like witnessing the horrific rise of kind of racism in Irish society. Like it's there. So in some ways, like it all restrains creativity, but it also inspires it. And I think, yeah, there has been an exciting creative response, and you'd hope then that creative response feeds into a political one. Like art is political, but like I think art can also drive deeper types of political action, political change, and that seems to be what's happening at the moment. Like Kneecap's another good example of that around the Palestine movement. Like I think there's a lot of exciting stuff happening, and we have to keep that alive as well.
Irish creatives want to be in Ireland. The nightlife industry wants to expand. We need to bridge this gap. Reforms to licensing laws, which include a holistic approach for workers, are one of the primary changes that industry professionals want.
The biggest issue with Irish nightlife is our licensing laws. Dance music, nightlife is completely under threat after COVID. It's totally changed the way that people have engaged with it. But for the Irish case and the Northern Irish case as well, our licensing laws add another layer of danger. And if they are not solved quickly or reformed, we will be in a much worse position than we are now. It was really interesting. We asked if licensing laws were changed, would you operate a venue? And over 1,500 people said that they would be interested in opening a venue if we had more progressive licensing laws. Nighttime transport is a really tricky one because while the government have certainly outlined more routes, and there definitely is more 24-hour services available that is Dublin centric, it's still very, very difficult for people to access nightlife spaces, not just for users but also for workers as well. And we've seen that being a huge trend in the feedback that we got from workers, specifically in the survey. Because there's no transport options, people are kind of forced hand to pay for taxis, and because of the cost of living, like people can't afford to do that. And I think that's another reason why people are not engaging with nightlife as much as they used to, because it is too expensive.
The arts also need better support. It requires both financial backing and greater respect to enable young creatives to pursue their ideas and dreams.
Like I said earlier, it's a pastime and something fun to do on the side, but it is, I think DJing it's a skill and something that's learned over lots of time and lots of practice. And it's like if you were learning to do something else, like if you're learning to study architecture or something, you expect to be paid for your skills, for your services.
There's a known integration process where like you may play your first 10 gigs and not expect to get paid for them because you're trying to like work up a reputation, which is just kind of like, I feel like it's just part of the scene and people just accept it. So maybe as a way for like people to get into it more so, or to like actually to actually start making money from this, that those would be paid. It's so sad that money becomes such a huge factor in it, because like it is like a hobby and it is just like a love of music, but again it just like feeds back into like so many aspects of life. And then so to see that change would be quite nice. Also to just see more funding from like the other side, like funding into the arts to allow kind of venues or like promoters to put on gigs where they're not incredibly stressed about whether or not they're going to make money back from tickets, like, and then paying huge money to fly in artists from other countries because they know that if it's a bigger name they're going to sell more tickets, make more money. Like it's natural, and like you can't be like complaining about it because it's just how their survival technique. But it does mean that like Irish artists aren't going to get booked for as many gigs in Ireland, because if you're a younger name that not many people know, then people aren't going to pay tickets to go and see you.
I think just to link back to kind of the state supports, not just the high level policy change that you need, you also need like the leg up for the small DIY person to like grow and establish into something that's like long lasting, permanent. That's missing at the moment. And one area where you really see that is in like the government have done recently with this 5% for arts and culture scheme. So basically with any new development, there was a rule that 5% of the floor space to be given over to arts, culture and community use. The government in their most recent planning act removed that provision altogether. And then at a city level, there's loads of new developments where the 5% is there, but the city council and other agencies like the Arts Office, they're not funded well enough to start to put people into them. So we need to create kind of an ecosystem where there's grants available, there's funds. We're really pushing on here's your leg up to make this thing work that you've put a lot of your own time into and like taken as far as it can possibly go. So I think we need to be giving creatives a ladder up to make things permanent, because so many good things are here for a year or two and then they're gone. Like just when all the creative energy's gone, people can't justify sustaining it anymore.
Alongside these top-level policies, we also need to continue our bottom-up grassroots work. We need to support the people and places that are continuing to create.
I think that a problem that a lot of like Irish people have, and a lot of people in like the kind of club music world in Ireland, is that like people are kind of complaining about a lack of spaces quite a lot. And while that's absolutely true, I think that people are also not like thinking about these things creatively at all. You know what I mean? Like one, there's a few DIY venues that people kind of know about and don't really go to, you know what I mean? Like Daylight and stuff like that, or like places in like Cork and Galway and stuff, and like so like those places are really struggling to get by, whereas they're actually the solution that we're all looking for, you know. And you have much more you can do much more in those spaces than you can do in like a big club in the city centre or something, because you're not paying anywhere near as much fees and all that kind of stuff. So I think people need to kind of think creatively about a lot of this kind of stuff, like how like so many music scenes have survived just through like gigs being put on house parties, and like one thing that like Dublin and Ireland has loads of is like loads of pub function rooms that are pretty much always free to book. They're about 100 capacity. Most people who are like looking to put on gigs probably aren't selling more than 100 tickets, you know what I mean? So I think we need to be kind of more creative about how we kind of do these things.
Fundamentally, we need to solve the housing crisis. We need low rents so that people can live good and full lives.
There's always been a correlation with a big art movement having low rent in that area, because you need time to do nothing to be an artist sometimes.
Shay has many other great ideas for us as well.
I hope for the late licenses to change. I hope for there to be a change in the way taxing is done in bars. I hope that staff in bars can keep their own tips without being taxed. I hope that the rates per the venues in town goes down. I think that there should be some sort of regulation or shift with the sponsorships of events, because there's literally two people that are controlling everything and they're very successful. But yeah, I don't know. I think that should be spread out a bit differently. I think there should be means testing for the basic income for artists. I think MCD should be broke up from Live Nation. I think Ticketmaster should be completely regulated or just removed and eliminate the reselling. Yeah. Fuck, man, I don't know. I think there should be more investment way outside of Dublin as well. I'd love to see Belfast. I know that'll be its own thing if we have United Ireland eventually, but if that were the case, I'd love to see some sort of synergy between there. I'd like for the artists that go and perform for the president to get paid a fee that's not just their fuel and food. Thank you.
Nightlife is just one piece of a much larger puzzle. Ireland has so much potential to be a creative hub and a place where young people can live affordably. At the end of the day, that's all the young ones want. We want to be able to live and create. We want to be able to dance.
I think we need a different attitude towards nightlife, and I think that needs to come from a very broad range of people. We need to stop viewing nightlife as, you know, this dirty thing or something that exists in the shadows, and start appreciating that it is part of our society, it's part of our social fabric, it's a very important part of particularly youth.
Artists shouldn't feel that like politics is for the politicians and the activists. It's for artists and creatives as well. And like if this is going to get anywhere, we're going to need to team up. We're going to need a massive united front of all sorts of different people.
I love Ireland so much. Like, I love Dublin. I think that just Dublin's my favourite place in the world. I've lived abroad spent time abroad a kind of handful of times, but like I think I think Dublin's the best. Just like this guy, you're the best.
If at any point you're talking about family in the documentary and how important it is, please just insert this. I love my family very much. I love my grandparents very much. And if you have a family, cherish them.